Okay, up next is a SEGA Genesis game. I already removed the screws. And here's the board itself. Let me put this on the side. So here's the cartridge. And we're going to be doing basically the same thing. I'm going to use this little machine to hold my battery. An interesting thing that I'll mention. Something interesting to mention is that for SEGA Genesis games, they tend to have two options to hold your battery. You have ones on the side, at an angle, and like this is the positive, and that's the negative. And then you have these right next to each other that are like horizontally across. So that's negative, and that's positive. Okay, so same thing, solder. You can always clean this thing afterwards. Get my towel, put it underneath holding the battery. I mean, for me, I don't really need the towel. It's a safety measure, because I know this thing's going to come out as soon as I pull it out. Okay, so 10, that's 1. Tap, that's 2. Here's the old battery. You have more grip without a towel, so if you're fast enough, you don't need a towel. Okay, so the hole is showing for 1. Actually, it's showing for both. Is it showing for both? Let me see. No, I might have to use the soldering braid for that. But if you don't want to put it here, you can use the side ones. But those are for the horizontal ones are for like these kind of holders, where they have a larger grip to them. I'll recommend doing the ones on at an angle, because that's what these are. These battery mounts are for. So let me just get the soldering braid. There we go. Now clean that up. Okay, so after cleaning your cartridge from the flux, here's what it looks like now. And here's the front, here's the back, and from what I mentioned before, for example, for this one, the battery, lithium batteries, the top part is the positive, and the bottom is the ground. So the leg that's on top goes to the positive area on the board itself. And as I mentioned before, you can tell which is the positive on the board itself by just seeing a trace. As you can see, this trace goes to this one right here. It's right next to this one. So it's going to be this one or this one. As you can see back here, the negatives are always just alone, while the positive ones tend to have a trace going to them. Okay, just where you can see that plus sign right there, the top leg will go in that hole. And of course, you gotta bend this thing a little so it goes in there. Then on the top side, you want to bend the legs. Okay. A little solder, flux. And the other. Okay, so here it is. And that's the new battery fully inserted. So like I said, this side is ground, this side is positive. And that's my new battery in there. Turn this on. Print. There we go. And yeah, that's all it takes to replace a battery in a SEGA Genesis game. Personally, I feel it's a little easier than a Super Nintendo game. You have just so much more space to the battery. There's nothing really in the way. Okay, so here I have my copy of Shadowrun running on my Sega Nomad. So let's test out the battery, the new battery. Let's go to menu, press A, save, save game, game 1, game saved. And we turn it off. Load game. Game 1. Successful download. Press any button to run to Shadowrun. And there I am. Well guys, there you have it. That was a video showing you how to change the batteries on these things. And as you can see, it wasn't really that difficult. The only thing is you have to make sure you have the right tools for this job to go smoothly. So yeah, I recommend doing it. Do it whenever you can. And have fun with it. If you have any questions, leave them on the bottom and I'll be happy to answer. Apart from that, this is the basics on how to change the batteries on these things. So yeah, the Super Nintendo one can take a battery holder. Maybe the Sega Genesis, there's a battery holder for one that's thin enough to insert it. I'm not sure. But with one of these type of batteries, you can just still put it in the front. And if you don't want a battery holder on your Super Nintendo, you can put it on the front too. On the front side of the board like this. But yeah, thank you for watching.